Welcome to another edition of What Three Books. The last three I picked took a long time to read, and it's just down to holidays and it being this time of year where we're doing the garden and there's a lot of things to get done, getting a new caravan. So it took a while to get through them, although one of them, to be fair, was A Fire Upon the Deep by Werner Vinge, which was quite a hefty tome indeed. So I've got reviews set up for those. I'm going to do, I might do just one video where I review all three of those books, or I might do three separate ones. I haven't decided yet, but they'll follow this in the next couple of days. But I thought I'll crack on with the next three. So these are the What Three Books for the start of summer, should I say. Today is June the 22nd, so for anybody who needs to know dates and who is timing me on this, on reading books. So the three books that I chose this month were ones that, the topic for this month, it was basically rereading books that I felt I needed to reread, and this is in the wake of quite a lot of things that have happened recently. I recently read the Dune trilogy, for example, towards the end of last year, and I've also been kind of reminded about how good a couple of other books are. So the first actual pick was quite easy. This one, I believe, is being developed for television by one of the Netflix type companies. I don't know which one. I've only just heard bits and snatches of things, so I don't take my word for it. It might not happen. But that is Mockingbird by Walter Tevis. Now, this book I read about 14 years ago, and I couldn't tell you anything about what happened in it off the top of my head without having to read the back. So this one's going to get reread. I do remember it being very, very good, and it's part of the, you can see just above my head at the background there, the whole, this is the numbered SF Masterworks series rather than the yellow backed one, and this one was number 70 in that series. I think it was one of the first ones that I bought though. And on the strength of these, I mean, all of those books that you see behind you are classics, and I would reread any one of them in a heartbeat. But this one here, just purely because it's been mentioned a lot as being developed for a series, I thought I better refresh my memory of that one. So that's number one on the list. Number two on the list was also easy. As I already mentioned in the video, I read the first three Dune books towards the end of last year, and that was a reread basically. I've read them all several hundred times probably in my life. So obviously the fourth book, God Emperor of Dune, this is probably my favourite of them all. I feel that this one is the culmination. I think the Dune trilogy itself is like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's a misnamed trilogy. That this is actually the fourth book in a quartet, because all of the books previous to this were leading to this book. They were leading to this character and all of these things that happen, and it is a fantastic climax. It's a better climax than Children of Dune ever was. So this as a result is probably one of my favourite books of all time. I first read this when I was 14, so back in 1985. Showing my age there. Third book was a little bit more difficult. It was basically those two floating to the top, and then one of 10 others, just like the last one was. The third book's always the hard one to pick. But I whittled it down to two, and one of them fell by the wayside for a good reason, which I'll explain in a minute. But the one that I've chosen ultimately is Pushing Ice by Alastair Reynolds. There seems to be a lot of reading of this going on just now. A lot of videos appearing with people reading that, and I do remember it as being one of my absolute favourites of Alastair Reynolds. It's all of the good stuff that people like Alastair Reynolds for is all in this book. The basically sciencing the shit out of things long before The Martian came along. So that's number three. It's number three, but it's the one I'm reading first, as you can see. And I've already got quite far into it. Already writing a review for this as I go, I find that if I leave it to the end of the book, I do kind of leave a lot of things out. I will forget a lot of things because it's so, you know, I like to write it while it's happening, my impressions, and then kind of collate all of my thoughts at the end. So that's that. As with the last video, I also have honourable mentions. Forgive the shakiness of this. I'm having to hand hold at the minute because I'm in a state of, this is a book haul that will shortly be happening. There's a lot of books in there, but the 3 honourable mentions, just like the last video, because the 2 that I came down to with the Alastair Reynolds, the other one was Terminal World, and the reason Pushing Ice kind of edged it is because I just read A Fire Upon the Deep, which is part of the Zones of Thought thing, and it's very similar, and some of the concepts are very similar, you know, in terms of technological zones and where physics changes its properties, basically. And this is heavy on that, so that one will get left till the next time I choose a suitable topic. But it is definitely one I do want to reread. I met Alastair Reynolds and I had a conversation with him about this book. Just basically asking him, will there be a sequel? Because it did seem to me like there was a cliffhanger ending. But he said no, for 2 reasons. Number one is it's not financially viable. It didn't do very well. It didn't do as well as his other books, as the other sort of subject matter he did. It was very experimental, as anybody who's read this knows. And secondly, he says, it's finished anyway. And I said, no, it's not. I mean, it literally leaves you hanging. And he says, no. He says, it's all in there. It's all in there. So I'm going to take your word for it, Alastair. And I'm going to, but I will reread it with that in mind, with that conversation in mind. Second one on the reread list, on the one that didn't make it, is Fearsome Engine by Ian M. Banks. Now, I kind of feel like I had a little bit of a mindfuck with the Werner Vinge book, Fire Upon a Deep, and so I didn't want to dive straight into another one, which is the main reason for not reading this. But again, this is another one where there is a point to it. There is a sort of big reveal, and I may have missed it as well the first time I read it, and I really need to give this one another read, so I will be doing that in future. I might do a best 3 Ian Banks books or something in the future, but maybe not this year. I might have to wait till next year. And the last one, last honourable mention, is one that I actually read again about the same time as I read Mockingbird. So about 14 years ago, when I was collecting all these sci-fi sort of masterworks that you see behind me. And it is The Forever War by Joe Haldeman. Of course it is. But the reason I didn't read The Forever War for this 3 books is because I haven't long read a book by Joe Haldeman. I read Camouflage back in January, and I'm going to do a review of that one as well. That was actually a really good book. In fact, I've written the review, but I haven't done the video yet. But that's the reason that one didn't make it. But I will reread this at one point. I read this in one day. I read this in like 3.5 hours when I first read it, because it's just a page turner, and I'd never read anything like it before. It's brilliant. So yeah, that will definitely be on another list. But again, probably not until next year. Though, you know, everything's kind of full for this year. So thanks for watching this. If you've got any thoughts about what I'm reading, leave a comment underneath. Please like, subscribe, hit the little bell, all that good stuff that people ask you to do on YouTube. And I'll see you back here shortly, probably in the next couple of days, with some reviews of the last 3 books video. And I will review these once I've read them as well. Thanks for watching.